Welcome to Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota. And hey, wouldn't you know it, we actually have something to talk about as we're going to be tracking a Colorado low pulling out of the Rockies by midweek and affecting our region. So let's go on and take a look. So here's our real strong jet stream that we've been tracking and waiting to crash onshore and push this low onshore as well. And as you can see here, the low that we're going to be tracking at this point is still offshore. It's still off the Pacific coast. So we don't have a real good handle on it just yet. But as it does push eastward, it looks like it should be able to make landfall by about Tuesday sometime. Now, unfortunately, we're going to be talking about Wednesday night once this precipitation moves in. What I'm saying there basically is it might not be until Tuesday morning until we really get a good grasp onto what's going to happen with this system. Now, by Wednesday, we continue to see this low deepen and amplify this ridge here and push this jet stream up into our region. And that's going to be essentially the catalyst, the upper level portion of the storm that's going to be passing by our area. Now, mind you, as we continue on, as we go kind of into the weekend, you can see how that jet stream sort of flattens out and all the energy goes back down to the south. So basically what we're going to be looking at is the storm kind of lingering here, but it's going to be cut off from a lot of the moisture as we get into the weekend. So while we might have some decent moisture to start off with, along with some rain and some snow, once that gets cut off by the upper levels, you can see that precipitation dies off fairly quickly. Now we're still left with some snow and some rain, but it's not going to be the heavy snow, widespread snow that we associate with some of these other storms. Now, the other thing I'm taking a look at this point are the upper level temperatures out ahead and behind this storm system. Still plenty of warm air being drawn up out ahead of this. And while we do have some cold air being plunged in on the backside, obviously that's going to be bringing us the snow. But what we don't have is the cold Arctic air diving in behind it. And so that's going to help basically shift this storm off to the east and maybe not allow it to be quite as intense and deep as perhaps it would get if we had more cold air on the backside of this system. So while we're looking at a storm system that likely is going to be causing some hazardous travel conditions and likely some accumulating snow, at least at this point, there are some indications that are showing that it's not like it's going to be a widespread area of 15 to 20 inch type of a storm, but more that 5 to maybe 10 inch mark, maybe 10 at the most in some areas. We'll just have to keep an eye on and see how things progress. And while obviously, as I said before, it's kind of early, let's just take a look at a model just to get kind of an idea of timing of this storm system at this moment. So we're looking here at Wednesday morning, right around 6 a.m. And so you're going to be seeing a mixed precip of some rain and maybe some freezing rain and some snow. It's just going to start off as a mixed bag of precipitation, particularly out in the western Dakotas and out across eastern Montana and eastern Wyoming. As we get to about noon time frame, that precipitation is going to ramp up just a little more. Again, we're still kind of on the front end of this system, so we're still drawing in a fair amount of warm air on the front side of it, still waiting for that cold air to plunge in back behind it. So we're kind of still have that rain, snow mix going on. And it's really not until we get into the overnight hours Wednesday night. Here we are. We're starting off at about 9 p.m. on Wednesday. And we're looking at rain here on the front end across eastern Dakotas and even across parts of Minnesota. And who knows, this might even be just a little bit of a chance of a few rumbles of thunder to start off with the storm system as we go into Wednesday evening. We'll see. But then, as we said, on the back end, we get that cold air that begins to plunge into the backside. And it really looks like at this moment, the better chance for snow, according to most of the models, is going to be across the western parts of North Dakota. And I'll show you a graphic a little bit later just to give you a better idea of what to expect as far as snow. But you can see where that snow essentially starts to take off across the west, across the north central part of North Dakota, while out in the east, we continue to have the rain and the mixed bag of precipitation. That's what the purple is. It's kind of the rain-snow mix as we see that transition between the rain and the snow. Now, once we get to about Thursday morning, this is 6 a.m., you can see continued rain chances mainly across Minnesota. We got a bit of a mixed bag across parts of eastern Dakotas. And then as you get a little bit further back, we continue to see the snow now across north central North Dakota and back across the western Dakotas. Continuing on to Thursday at noon, continued rain out in Minnesota. We get a little more snow that begins to pull just a little bit further south and a little bit further east as time moves on. More snow across the Dakotas, rain across Minnesota. And actually, let's pull this back just one little click. We have this cold front that's going to be sweeping through the region. And who knows, again, it might just be enough to perhaps set off a couple of thunderstorms across far southeastern Minnesota, and as it crosses into Wisconsin as well. We'll see. Nothing heavy or strong or anything of that nature, but just kind of interesting. Here we are in February, and we might have the possibility of seeing or hearing a couple of rumbles of thunder across southeastern Minnesota. You're not going to see them. You're going to hear the rumbles. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to see the lightning. Who knows? But as we continue on, 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Thursday evening, that snow now beginning to make its way across northern parts of Minnesota and just continuing to linger, mostly light in nature, across North and South Dakota, not quite reaching southeast South Dakota by this point, the way it's looking, at least at this moment. Then as we go through the overnight hours Thursday night and into Friday morning, perhaps some of that snow makes it just a little bit further south. Again, looking fairly light in nature by this point. Most of the moisture is going to be sucked off or going to be pulled down across the southern parts of the United States and really cut off from the storm system. So once we get into Friday, really begins to wind down, and it looks like as we head into Friday evening in particular, most of the precipitation should be over with. So here's an early look of the areas that I think have the best chances of accumulating snow. And at this point, it's mainly going to be across north central parts of North Dakota, then down across much of the western part of North Dakota. That secondary chance is going to be at this point in these areas of yellow, reaching down from the Black Hills up through Mobridge, or kind of reaching Aberdeen and up through Brainerd, Ely, Duluth. Now, of course, some of this could obviously slide just a little bit further south. This is just kind of an area that I think's got a chance, at least for now, for seeing some accumulating snow. We'll see as time progresses where this will kind of probably slide a little bit south in some of these areas, but we'll get a little better grasp on it as we get a little bit closer to Wednesday. And early indications is going to be kind of in that 5 to 10, 6 to 12 range, and we'll narrow that down once again. Like I said, as we get a little bit closer, it's just too early to tell exactly what we're looking at for, as far as snow accumulations. Now, something else, of course, we always got to take a look at when we're talking about snow are the wind gusts. Here we are Thursday afternoon. And really the areas that have the best chance of snow, at least as we get to Thursday around noon, winds aren't that bad. They do pick up a little bit more as we get into Thursday evening around 6 p.m., 30, 35 miles per hour. Stronger further south, but that's not bad because they don't have as much snow. They're going to be expecting a little more rain in some of those locations. So they can have the wind, but still, this is probably going to be enough, especially as we go through the overnight hours of Thursday and into early Friday, to blow and drift some of that snow and create some slippery road conditions across North Dakota. As we get into Friday afternoon, again, those winds pick up just a little bit, 30, 35 miles per hour, maybe an isolated 40 mile per hour, I would think is going to be possible by the time we get into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. And then as we get into Friday night, those winds diminish, and it looks like the rest of the weekend should be fairly quiet from a wind standpoint. All right, let's take a look at some high temperatures as we go through the week. So to start off the work week, Monday, we're looking at mid-30s across the north. As you get further down to the southwest, obviously, we're still looking at some pretty warm temperatures, mid-50s to around 60 degrees. Tuesday, we're looking fairly similar. We're looking at the upper 30s to low 40s across the north, and we're still looking at the possibility of seeing near 60 degrees down in the southwest. Wednesday, we got upper 30s here to low 40s, and then further to the south, we got 60 around the southeastern part of South Dakota. Thursday, you can see that cool air begin to sag in from the northwest. High temperatures Thursday are going to struggle to get above freezing across northwestern parts of North Dakota. Meanwhile, down into the southeastern parts of Minnesota, we're going to be looking at highs in the mid-50s. We'll see if that's going to be enough to perhaps allow a few rumbles of thunder. Friday, that cooler air sags just a little bit further south as we see those below freezing temperatures across much of North Dakota, northwest Minnesota. Still, though, in the low to mid 40s across portions of the south. And then Saturday, that cooler air drags just a little bit further south with those freezing temperatures across North Dakota, northern half of Minnesota. Meanwhile, the southern portions of our region, we're going to be looking at the upper 30s to low 40s. Now, once we get this system passed, on Sunday, we've got just a chance of some snow across North Dakota. Light in nature, the way it's looking at this point. You can see how the systems continue to roll across the south, as that's where the main jet stream setup continues, is across the south. So we're looking at the possibility of some severe weather continuing across southern portions of the United States. But overall, after this little system moves by, not a whole lot in the forecast for quite a while. Just some cooler temperatures compared to what we've been seeing anyway. Because at least at this moment, it doesn't appear that we have any Arctic air really plunging into our region. So while we won't be seeing the above average temperatures and those record-breaking temperatures, we're going to see things that are going to be a little more seasonable, but still not horrible for this time of year. It could be worse, obviously. So other than that, yeah, we're going to keep an eye on this storm system, so make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell button that pops up alongside it. That way, you know when I've uploaded a video just like this, and we'll keep you updated as things change throughout the week and kind of get things really honed down and pinned down as to what exactly is going to happen with the storm system. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. At the very least, please just hit the like button. That also helps my channel get noticed by others who might be looking for weather information. All right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Werner. Everybody, have a good day.